In this video I'm just going to talk you through installing the Tobii driver and setting up the Tobii software in preparation for running the clinical eye tracker. So to install the Tobii driver, you just click on the Tobii driver link here. In general, I would go for the latest version. Occasionally we run into problems with the latest version on older computers, so we've left the early version there as well, but in general go for the latest version. So you just click on that, click on Save File, and it will download the driver. In Firefox it downloads it here. Then you just run this file and it will run through an install process. When it gets to the end of the install process, it will invite you to plug in the Tobii bar, and it will then tell you that it's picked up, it's sensed the Tobii bar. Remember, the Tobii bar must be plugged in to a USB 3 port. So those are usually labeled or they have a blue interior to the USB socket. That's some computers use that convention, but it must be a USB 3 port. If it's not picking up the bar, the first thing to check is that it is actually a USB port. The other reason why occasionally the bar is not picked up is that there's a problem with installing the driver. So if the computer has intermittently loses connection with the bar, sometimes you have to remove the driver and reinstall it. We have had that happen after Windows updates. Another reason why it sometimes occurs is that the computer USB port is unable to supply sufficient current to the USB bar. This can happen with laptops, particularly when they're not plugged into the mains. If they're running off the battery, sometimes they don't provide enough current to the bar, and if you plug them into the battery, into the mains, then it overcomes that problem. If it doesn't, the solution is to use a powered USB hub, such as this one here. So these are not terribly expensive, but it's very important that it is USB 3 and also that it has its own power supply. Then it will supply more current to the USB ports. So once the Tobii bar is connected and the driver has picked it up, then you will find the Tobii driver either in the taskbar itself, but more often than not hidden away here, and on my computer it's here. And if you click on that, it will then show you the Tobii driver. You can turn it on and off manually here. There's a couple of settings that you must go through before you use the Tobii bar with the clinical eye tracker. The first one is to turn off all of the interactions. The Tobii driver can be used to actually pick up your eye movements, use your eye movements to control the position of the mouse cursor. So you can use it to move the mouse cursor around the screen and click on buttons on the screen. Now we don't want that to happen while we're using it to record eye movements. So basically it's a case of going through all of the settings, the power settings, and make sure that if they're not already disabled that they're turned off. So go through them all, make sure they're all turned off all the way down the list here, and then that will avoid any strange movements of the mouse cursor while you're trying to record. The second thing that you must do before starting to record is make sure that the display setup is correct. So when you click on display setup, it will actually move this screen onto the screen that the Tobii bar is going to record from. So this must be on the same screen as your Tobii bar is attached to. So if it's the other screen, then just click on this arrow, move it to the other screen, then click on done. On my computer, the Tobii bar is actually on this computer. You can also change the size here, and if the Tobii bar is not centered correctly, you can move this across so it lines up with the 3 lines on top of the Tobii bar. And when you've done that, click on Done, and you're now ready to start recording with your clinical eye tracker.